A state legislative committee is looking into the new job of former Governor John Rowland. Among other things, Representative Christopher Caruso wants to know if Rowland will have access to public funds.
What's your name, sir? Your name? John Rowland, I think.
Nearly 2 months after former Governor John Rowland started his new job as the Economic Development Director for the city of Waterbury.
If you're going to have a recovery and rehabilitate a robber, you don't make him a branch manager of a bank.
State Representative Christopher Caruso today had all kinds of analogies equating Rowland to his new job. Analogies for the former governor who served less than a year in federal prison after pleading guilty to one corruption-related charge.
It would be very comparable to a recovering alcoholic, making them a bartender. You're going to put them in temptation's way again.
But analogies aside, Caruso, the Democratic chairman of the legislature's Government Administration and Elections Committee, says he has some real concerns with Rowland's new title, especially with a recent request for $40 million in state funding for 2 Waterbury projects.
What John Rowland's role will be in that.
Caruso sent a letter yesterday to Waterbury's Chamber of Commerce demanding answers. While neither Rowland nor the chamber got back to us for comment, many in the Brass City say they're lucky to have Rowland, who as governor was the mastermind behind many revitalization projects, including the convention center in Hartford. Senate Republican leader John McKinney says the state can't micromanage Waterbury and believes that state lawmakers have more important things on their plate.
The fact is that if Representative Caruso wants to do an investigation, why don't we investigate why heating oil prices are so high? Why don't we investigate why the economy's in recession and people are losing their jobs?
Caruso is calling this an inquiry, not an investigation, but he says if he doesn't get the answers he's looking for, he will take it to the next step. At the state capitol, Shelley Sinland, Fox 61, News at 10. It's kind of weird. Thank you, Shelley, I guess. Is that what I say? Here now to talk more about this latest Rowland controversy are Mr. Paul Hughes with the Republican American newspaper in Waterbury and Ms. Christine Stuart with CTNewsJunkie.com. Thank you very much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Let's start with this question. Let's get right to it. Does Caruso have a case? Paul?
Well, I think when you strip away kind of all the attitude and the huffery and the puffery,
who has attitude? Caruso, are you saying that?
I'm not saying anybody has that. I'm just saying when you strip it down to he's asking some basic questions. Who's paying for him? What's he going to be doing? Is he going to be having any contact with state agencies, state officials that he might have appointed as governor? So I think those are some sort of legitimate questions, but I think they've sort of taken on a little side.
Well, Christine, maybe you can address this. What took him so long? It's not as if Rowland just got this job yesterday. It's been several weeks.
I think it was a story that Paul wrote, actually, in the Waterbury Republican American, regarding that the city of Waterbury was up at the state capitol looking for $40 million in money for economic development issues. And they kind of wanted to know if Rowland was going to be accompanying them.
And do we have an answer to that? Does Rowland have a play in this, in the public funds? Well, have they said that?
Well, actually, no. His role is not going to be handling any public money, we're told. He's not going to be doing any lobbying. He wasn't involved in the requests, which the city of Waterbury was thinking about $40 million, $15 million for cleaning up an industrial complex, $15 million for the library, another $10 million for a business fund. He's not involved in any of that.
Let's go quickly to what 2 folks wrote into with the HartfordCurrent.com forum. It's kind of interesting. We have 2 graphics there. I guess we'll start with the first one. This is from Jim Pacino. And what he says is, it is time to let Mr. Rowland earn a living. After going to prison for a hot tub, do you really think that he should do anything else illegal? He will probably have be the cleanest official in Connecticut. Besides, what business is it of Caruso and others? Get over it. Now, this one kind of bottom lines it here. This is from Howard from Danbury, and he writes, if you lie down with the dogs, you are bound to get fleas. Ouch. What are you guys hearing up at the Capitol? A lot of people are fired up over this, that they're even looking into it.
I think only a few people are fired up about it. I think that Chris Caruso is fired up about it. Diana Urban is fired up about it. So there are a select few that I would call kind of watchdog type legislators.
I would say more fired up about the fact that they want that they wrote this letter, and it more with the Waterbury delegation.
Yeah, I think there's some obviously issues with the Waterbury delegation involved, but I also think that the former governor is sort of this lightning rod, and there are other lawmakers who when they heard about his hiring, said, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Even the Speaker of the House, Jim Maben, said, "Look, the hiring of the former governor invited some scrutiny here."
But he did a lot for Hartford. We were all there when the convention center opened, when he had the hard hat and was, you know, working on all revitalization projects.
That was one of the hallmarks of his administration. Certainly, he paid a lot of attention to the cities. He certainly did right by Waterbury, his hometown, Bridgeport, Hartford, New Haven. All received assistance, and you heard a lot of towns and cities, smaller cities, complaining about that at times.
All right, well, thanks. Moving on, though, there was some other news at the Capitol. Ms. Stuart, we'll have you fill us in on that. 3 strikes, you're out, which is something that we have talked a lot about here on Beyond the Headlines. It's why I get so many letters from the prison population. I'm not kidding you. Every single day I get a letter from a prisoner. Anyhow, the bottom line is 3 strikes, you're out is out.
There are 3 more
At least one version, I should say, correct.
One version. At least one version of the 3 strikes proposal is out, and the Judiciary Committee voted it down pretty convincingly along party lines, except for 3 Democrats. And there are 3 more proposals out there, but the Judiciary Committee has until Monday to get all of its business done.
And this has to do with the tragic home invasion last summer where Jennifer Huck-Pettit and her 2 daughters were murdered by, allegedly, 2 criminals who were career criminals who were recently paroled. This was in your neck of the woods. Paul, what's the reaction been in Cheshire? Well, the fact that one of the bills was killed doesn't make it look like good for the other one circulating, correct?
No, it doesn't. You know, the bill that, the 3 strikes bill was the one that died in committee. There's going to come back as amendments, but certainly the Pettit family, their neighbors, other people in Cheshire want a 3 strikes law. There's a lot of reluctance on the side of the Democrats. There's concern about judicial discretion. There's also, you know, will this live up to its billing? Is it really a 3 strikes law? Because what happens is you have to get convicted of those 3 felonies, and after your 3rd conviction, then a prosecutor, under the legislation that was rejected, then a prosecutor would have to decide to charge you as a 3 striker. Then that would involve another proceeding with the same jury in which they'd have to basically prove that you were convicted of the 3 offenses that would subject you to the life sentence.
This is something that people, Dr. Pettit himself wanted. The governor supported wholeheartedly. She was extremely upset that this was defeated. What was the governor's response to you, Christine?
She was upset. She thinks that there should be a strong 3 strikes proposal. Well, you commit 3 felonies and the judge says that's it, you go away for life.
Do you think lawmakers are worried? Because I've heard from people who are pretty, I keep saying fired up over this, that are saying, you know what, then they're not going to vote those folks back into office. They're so upset by it.
It's definitely going to be an election issue.
It'll definitely be an election issue, but it's hard to say, you know, whether one issue can turn an election. Obviously, it depends on the individual dynamics of the race. It could, but we'll have to see in November.
Okay, we are out of time. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Covered a lot of ground. Appreciate it.
Thanks.